In the vast and sprawling kingdoms of ancient China, there existed a land of unparalleled beauty and prosperity, where the lush green fields stretched as far as the eye could see, and the skies were painted with hues of orange and pink during breathtaking sunsets. In this far-off realm, there was a grand and majestic palace, home to the revered king and his court. And within the palace walls, there lived a woman whose beauty and grace were said to rival the very stars in the sky. Her name was Ling, a beloved concubine who had captured the heart of the mighty king. The king, a man of great power and wisdom, had ruled his kingdom with fairness and kindness for many years. His people adored him for his just and benevolent rule, and his court revered him as a wise and respected leader. Yet despite his many accomplishments and his undeniable charisma, the king was, in the end, a man, and like all men, he was not impervious to the allure of beauty and the tender pull of the human heart. When he first laid eyes on Ling, he was captivated by her elegant bearing and her delicate, porcelain features. He welcomed her into his palace and his heart, and Ling became his most cherished and adored concubine. Ling, for her part, was a woman of great intelligence and depth. She was well versed in the arts and literature, her voice lilting and sweet as she sang songs of love and longing. She was a skilled artist, her paintings and calligraphy admired by all who beheld them. And yet, despite the king's affection for her, Ling found herself yearning for something more, something deeper and more profound. For you see, her heart belonged to another, the crown prince, Wei. Wei, the king's only son and heir to the throne, was a young man of great promise and potential. He was tall and strong, with a noble and distinguished air about him. His eyes sparkled with intelligence and wit, and his smile could light up even the darkest of rooms. Like his father before him, he was admired and respected by all who knew him, and Ling could not help but be drawn to his charm and charisma. Their love was forbidden, of course. It was a secret that they guarded fiercely, hidden from the prying eyes of the king and the rest of the court. They would steal away into the palace gardens, their whispered words of love carried away by the gentle breeze as they stood beneath the dappled shade of the willow trees. They would meet in secret chambers, their bodies entwined in passionate embraces as they shared stolen kisses in the dimly lit corners of the palace. But as their love grew stronger, so too did their fear of being discovered. They knew the consequences of their actions, the wrath that the king would unleash upon them should he ever discover their forbidden affair. And yet, they could not resist the pull of their hearts, the irresistible force that drew them together time and time again. As the days turned to weeks, and the weeks to months, Ling found herself torn between her love for Wei and her loyalty to the king. She knew that she could not have both, that she must make a choice between the man she adored and the man who had given her a home within his palace. And as she looked into Wei's eyes, she knew that her heart had already made its choice. Together, they devised a plan, a daring and dangerous gambit that would allow them to be together, no matter the cost. They would flee the palace, leaving behind their life of luxury and privilege in search of a future where they could be together, free from the shadows of the king and the confines of the palace walls. On a moonlit night, they made their escape, their hearts pounding with fear and anticipation as they stole through the darkened palace halls. They carried with them only the barest of essentials, their clothes, and a few meager possessions that would serve as reminders of their life within the palace. As they crossed the threshold of the palace gates, they knew that they were leaving behind not only their old lives, but also any hope of returning to them. In the days and weeks that followed, they traveled far and wide, their journey taking them across mountains and rivers, through bustling marketplaces and quiet, secluded forests. They slept beneath the stars and bathed in the cool, clear waters of hidden springs, their love for one another only growing stronger with each passing day. But their happiness was not to last. For as they made their way through the treacherous terrain of the surrounding countryside, they were pursued by the king's men, his soldiers hot on their trail as they sought to bring the lovers back to face the king's wrath. One fateful night, as they huddled together for warmth in a makeshift shelter, they were set upon by a group of the king's soldiers. The skirmish was brief but brutal, and as Wei fought valiantly to protect Ling, he was struck down, his lifeless body falling to the ground as a wave of grief and despair washed over her. In that moment, Ling knew that she had lost not only the love of her life, but also her own will to go on. She could not bear the thought of living in a world without Wei, of facing a future devoid of his warmth and laughter. And so, with a heavy heart and tears streaming down her face, she took her own life, her spirit joining Wei's in the great beyond as they were reunited once more in death. And so, the tale of Ling and Wei became a legend, their story passed down through the generations as a cautionary tale of forbidden love and the consequences that such love can bring. The palace, once a symbol of joy and happiness, became a monument to their tragic end, a reminder of the love that had once blossomed within its walls and the price that had been paid for that love. But despite the sadness that their story brought, there was also a sense of beauty and wonder, for in their love, Ling and Wei had found a connection that transcended the boundaries of this world and had reached beyond the confines of their mortal lives. And in that connection, they had discovered a love that was as timeless and eternal as the very stars that lit up the night sky.